Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to tonight's episode of Collective Conversations with Khalifas, brought to you by Graceline Community. I want to open tonight with a recitation of Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. Again, thank you and welcome to tonight's program. Hope we have some interesting topics. Wait a few minutes for those who are going to be with us to join. Right now, it's just me. And I wanted to, while we're waiting, wanted to touch on just a couple of topics. And I haven't had a chance to review line by line thoroughly everything that I'm going to bring to you, but I thought it was interesting. So this is why I kind of pull these off the hot topics list. The first one um, concerns Federal Reserve Board of Governors member Lisa Cook, African American female, widely respected not only in the United States, but around the world for her business and banking policy acumen. And she was accused by the Federal Housing Finance Agent Director Bill Pulte, working on behalf of that guy that currently occupies the White House, to go after her to try to force her to resign by making some accusations that she was committing mortgage fraud under a particular criminal statute, that she was falsifying resident statuses for Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Atlanta, Georgia properties. She owns two homes. I'm sure it's her and her husband or family, whatever. So they tried to make a big deal out of this for probably about 10 days and didn't shake her at all. She filed a countersuit and basically looked them dead in the eye and said, come on with it. So now information is leaking out that she hasn't committed any kind of fraud, that there were some fraudulent statements made against her that are not based on fact, primarily concerning the Fulton County or Atlanta, Georgia property. So I'm not going to go any farther with that at the moment, but that definitely, if you're interested in the attacks on after the African American community, African American women who are in leadership positions, which that has been rampant. This is definitely something to follow. Get some information on this. People are going to be continue to say DEI things and all that mess. I am really proud of Miss Cook for standing up for herself. A second thing that caught my eye, because last week I saw and commented on a report that the state of Nebraska might go bankrupt. Nebraska depends heavily upon revenue from agricultural activities. And like many states, Nebraska has suffered a severe drop in farm employment because many of their farm workers are some undocumented from Central America, some documented from Central America, but all of them spooked by these outrageous ICE raids that just round up people. I mean, they don't care. you look the part. I'm going to put you in handcuffs and put you in a van or a yellow bus or something, and we'll sort you all out down the road 2 months later, separated from your family. So as has happened in the state of Texas where I live, a lot of people who are documented, they didn't have to leave. They just want to deal with it. They just packed up and left. Uh, People working in hospitals, the hospitality industry, in hotels, restaurants, things of that nature. They're like, nah, 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 nah. Got enough money, got some saved up, sent some home over the last few years. Don't need the hassle, and they're gone. In the case of Nebraska workers, farm workers, I would not be surprised if many of them made the move into Canada, and I would not be surprised if many of them made their way to the great state of California, which is the breadbasket of the country as far as agriculture is concerned. Anyway, all of that being said, this headline from Politico starts out like this. The whole thing is screwed up. Farmers in deep red Pennsylvania struggle to find workers. And this is Tioga County, Pennsylvania. It says as House Agriculture Chair G.T. Thompson prepares to introduce legislation aimed at easing the farm labor crisis. Farmers in the Pennsylvania Republican district are hoping he's heard their cries that they need more help right now. In Tioga County, where President Donald Trump won 75% of the vote in 2024, farmers are losing patience with the White House's promise of a quick solution for farm workers. Their urgent need is highlighted by stories like these of a multi-generational dairy farm that sold all of its dairy cows because the owner could not find workers, and another where farmers' job listings have received no responses. Farmers in the rural region near the New York border say these stories are not unique. So Bureau of Labor Statistics saying between March and July of this year, the agricultural workforce fell by 155,000. That tracks with Pew Research data that shows total immigrant labor fell by 750,000 from January through July. The labor shortage piles onto an ongoing economic crisis for farmers, exacerbated by dwindling export markets that could leave them with crop surpluses. This statement is from Tim Wood, a dairy farmer and a member of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau Board of Directors. People don't understand that if we don't get more labor, our cows don't get milked and our crops don't get picked. Farmers often turn to undocumented laborers because of the red tape and high cost associated with the H-2A program. That's the legal program to bring in farm workers from, say, Central America or anywhere else, which allows migrant workers to fill jobs in seasonal agricultural industries. They also complained that H-2A, the nation's largest temporary visa program, is off limits to employers looking to hire for year-round operations like dairy farms. So, big problem. You're losing 750,000 workers this year alone. This year alone, 750,000 workers lost in the farm industry, and that doesn't even go and start the farm in the industry altogether. 155,000 in the farm industry, 750,000 less workers now than what we had in January because of the immigration stance of the current administration. Trust me, those people are working somewhere. They're just not working in the United States. And the jobs that they were doing, people in the United States don't like doing those jobs, or the rising unemployment rate that we have in the United States. For example, amongst people considered to be Generation Z, the unemployment rate is 10%. 1 in every 10 Gen Zers right now is unemployed. Do you think those 25-year-old men and women want to be out in the field harvesting by hand? They don't. They don't want to be out there. Or they'd be rushing to those incredibly high-paying $4.75 an hour jobs, or in some cases, you get paid by how much you pull out of the field, like in the old days of picking cotton, right? It wasn't how many hours you worked. It's just, what was the weight of the amount of cotton that you were able to take out of the field?
And some cabbage in there.
So, no, our Gen Zers don't want those jobs. And I don't blame them. I don't. So there's going to be a problem there. It's not reflected yet. Just like any price increases coming from tariffs, not reflected yet. It's always going to be 6 to 8 months trailing. Always. And even then, because most of the business community supported this current administration, they're gonna hold off as long as they can on raising prices, because they don't want to draw the ire of this administration. They don't want this administration mad at them. So some of them are going to be willing to take losses.
Now you need a fast charger. I feel like that's going to pull much. Whatever.
Some of them are going to be willing to take losses to not make this administration angry. That's only going to last so long. Because the smart people, consumers, while these low prices linger, the ones that are intelligent and understand how economics works, they're going to make the purchases that they need to make while the prices are artificially low. And down the road, no matter if they stay artificially low or they increase rapidly, as will probably happen, unless the courts do rule these tariffs to be unconstitutional. That's a possibility. But in either case, these smart people have already stockpiled what they need. And in that case, the retailers or the people that are selling the products, they're going to suffer, and it's going to be a longer period of time for them to lower prices again, even in a future administration or 2 or 3 years down the road, when the foolishness of these actions forces the current administration to backtrack. So that has a lot to do with what's happening in farming. Lack of workers, crops rotting in the field. That's one aspect, and just the tariffs as a whole. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Martha Naila, Imam Adam Dia, welcome to the program.
Alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah.
So I wanted to get that stuff out of the way. You guys, if you were late, you'll get to kind of come back later and listen to my cold open, because I was on kind of a little bit of a rant. But I was on Imam Yahya Abdullah's Facebook page. Don't know how I ended up there, kind of in the feed. You never know what you're going to get from Facebook these days. I see some people's stuff, some people's I don't see. So anyway, ended up looking at his Facebook page, and he had 2 posts back to back. And they were both posts that they're excerpts from, I guess, either some kind of talks or whatever, Imam W.D. Muhammad. One of them, it shows a date on it of when that public speech was made. One of it didn't show the date. So I want to read both of them. And then I want to read a quote that was a part of a very long speech that was made back in the early six. Well, I guess, yeah, it's still early 60s by Malcolm X. Okay, and I'm just going to read the one line from that very long speech that he made. So this is the first excerpt from a public address by Imam W.D. Muhammad. This was in February 13th of 2005. Headquarters allows the enemy to defeat you. So they're trying their best to defeat every effort I'm making, but my effort is not dependent on a central office or a central workforce or production. No, I ask everybody who believes my leadership is right, this is good for us. I ask them to duplicate it wherever you are so that it's hard for them to kill it. I said to myself, I'm going to make defeating Imam W.D. Muhammad so expensive, they're going to give it up. They want us to stay organized, united under one leader, and to have the plan in one place and have it so that they can easily target one infiltrator. They don't need a lot of them. They can have one come into the headquarters and mess up everything. I have so many headquarters, it will be very expensive for the government. Okay. So I didn't add anything to or take anything away from the excerpt that Imam Yahya Abdullah put in his Facebook. You can go to his page and see that for yourself. So this was the second one. And this one is not dated. So I don't know the sequence. I don't know if this came before February 13th, 05, or came after February 13th, 05. Don't make one of us the leader for the community. We already have a leader. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is a leader for the community. His sunnah is the pattern for our community life. He's gone, but he has left his sunnah with us. We follow his sunnah, not mine. I don't have any sunnah. Whatever sunnah I had disappears in the sunnah of the prophet because all I'm doing is trying to follow his sunnah. Again, if you go to Imam Yahya Abdullah's Facebook page, you can also find that particular post. The third is from Malcolm X, our brother, Nation of Islam, former spokesperson for the Nation of Islam. And this is very short. This is from a speech I think he gave to the Organization of African States or something along those lines. This is after he had started his own organization outside of the Nation of Islam. We are not outnumbered. We are out organized. So those three statements, those three excerpts, what do you want to call them? There were three things that jumped out at me. The first thing that jumped out at me in the February 13th, 2005 address is Imam W.D. Muhammad said, I don't want us to have a centralized plan of, a workforce or production, but I want them to duplicate what I'm doing wherever you are. So the thing that jumped out to me is duplicate. Right? So that's a very important word, duplicate. Then he says in the other excerpt, don't make one of us the leader for the community. We already have a leader, it's Prophet Muhammad, and his sunnah overrides all other sunnahs, basically all other considerations of how you actually pattern community life. So, I think all of us can get behind that if we want to pattern community life, that we look at the sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. We try to follow that to the best of our ability. That's our leadership, right? And then Malcolm says we're out organized. In other words, our organization's not good. Somewhere in all that is a golden thread. I think. I think there's a golden thread in there somewhere. And this is something that it doesn't keep me awake at night, but I go to bed sometimes thinking about organization and our community and all the great ideas that I hear. We had this great program last Thursday evening with Wali Ali, and he had some great ideas, and he's very enthusiastic about it. And I know the brother, and I know his heart. He's a good guy. He wants to do things. I'm thinking in my head, I'm always thinking organization because I've seen the wheels fly off too many different ventures of all kinds because there was no organization. So help me out, guys. What do you think? Where are we? What do we need to do? Given that instruction that we just read. Don't everybody go at once.
Assalamu alaikum.
Well, like assalam,
Uh,
sister.
my first thought right off the bat is uh, be more purposeful. I mean, don't, as I say, number one, given, don't put out all our eggs in one basket, and you know what I'm referring to is what you started out with 2005 message from the imam, and the next thing is be purposeful. Be purposeful and have that purpose connected to future situations. Um, and I'm speaking in reference to, uh, 'cause the present peace be upon him, which make mean the core and which means on our guidance. So when it comes down to my living in Florida, though we're called the United States, you can see the replica of what he's saying as being each state having its own constitution and having certain guidelines that it follows, or certain ways and structure of how it purposefully carry out whatever its agenda is, its future agenda. So I'll stop right there. That's what's coming to my mind right away.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question, so don't go too far away because you mentioned purpose, and that's one of those words that over the last 3 years, 3 to 5 years, gets thrown around a lot. And when I ask people what that means, nobody can tell me. Being purposeful. Nobody knows a definition for it, but it sounds beautiful.
Okay. Thank you. And
Number
you're right.
two, number two, let
Oh,
me number two,
okay.
let me finish with this. The Imam says in his February 13th, '05 address that he wants duplication. Duplication of what? Because that to me would seem to be what the purpose would be, is duplicating what he prescribes. So what is he prescribing? And
Okay.
maybe we're doing
Oh,
that.
excuse
Maybe,
me.
maybe, maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe we are right now doing what he's prescribing. And if that's the case, I need to shut my trap. But I just want to be clear of where we are. Are we duplicating what he wanted us to duplicate? Or are we adrift at sea with no clear direction and we need to get back to duplicating what he wanted us to duplicate?
Now, for me, the connection is, and I think we all said, and I think we're all connected with this interest, and the interest is education, and first in service to humanity. All right, whatever that looks comes out to be, and it's spelled out in the mission statement from those who connect for the purpose of whatever reason that they connect, and the interest, overall interest, is in the areas that the man presented: education, economics, governance, and social cultural. And then, of course, there are layers to anything such as education. And you can say, well, we're educated on many areas, but does it still speak to education? If it does, and that spells out in our mission, then the mission is where the purpose is of why we're connected. But we're not alienating. I think that's a word that, well, it's entering now, alienating ourselves from when we say an association with the leadership of Imam Warthi Muhammad. And that means those areas speak out loud and clear, foremost in our interest of being connected. And that's education, economics, governance, and social culture.
Okay. Do we have an overall mission statement?
Not at,
If I if
well,
I if I went to my if I went to a masjid in Miami,
uh-huh.
that is a part of our community, IWDM community. And then I left there, traveled to St. Louis to a masjid that was a part of a IWDM community. And I asked both of them a week apart, can I view your mission statement? Am I
Uh-huh.
going to be looking at the same thing?
Oh, as I stated, in service to humanity, the most, and that's what the prophet is being the one who's most useful in society. So that can take on any appearance as long as when it comes down to what you say, is it what your efforts are? Are your efforts truly in service to humanity? Whether it's through the doorway of interfaith, whether it's through the doorway of community organizing, neighboring us, whatever wherever it's being functional, then that function should have its relationship to the leadership of Imam Worthy Muhammad. And that's why I say what connects is, can we all say in one shape or form, we say, uh, I'm in association with the leadership of Imam Worthy Muhammad as it relates to education, economics, governance, and sociocultural efforts.
Okay. In business, we call that ad hoc, which basically means that you're out there doing your own thing. And in most cases, I will even go as far as to say, in most cases, it's genuine, it's helpful to the community, and it would meet the guidelines of what you're expressing. That we would be following Quran and Sunnah in doing so. I'm just wondering whether or not our community is mature enough to be to be able effectively to effectively make inroads and be in positions of leadership if everything is ad hoc. If you
I,
can't, if you
oh, excuse
can't,
me.
it's almost like schools, right? It's almost like our schools. And I don't, this is not a denunciation of our schools or in any way to diminish them. But if I had a child, and once upon a time I did have a child enrolled in Sister Claire Muhammad School, and that was in Dallas, Texas. If I had moved to Columbus, Ohio, and there's a masjid there that had a Sister Claire Muhammad School, and my son was in the second grade and he was studying certain subjects, I would expect him to be able to roll into that Clara Muhammad school and pretty much be roll right into what his lesson plan was, you know, for the school in Dallas. Just kind of pick up as if he wasn't missing a beat. They're reading similar books, may not be exactly the same book, but they're reading similar books, and it's a similar school day, and all of these things. right? So there would be no interruption in his education. It's the same thing that our say our sectionally moms, our statey moms, because I've known the one in Texas do this, is come into a masjid, sit on the floor, listen to the khutbah, because you're trying to make sure that the messaging is the language and logic of Imam David Muhammad, right? You don't want to walk into one of our masjids and hear a Sufi khutbah. And I got nothing against the Sufis. That's not why I'm at this particular masjid. I'm not there for Sufism. I'm there for the language and logic of Imam David Muhammad. So if you're ad hoc, you can do what you want to do. You can just say it's a wonderful, it's a humanitarian purpose, and you can come check us out. We love everybody, and we'll help anybody in need. But we're doing this on our own. We don't. There's nobody over us or whatever. We go out on our own, searching for this and searching for that to be able to pay for what we do and all that stuff. There's no organization. It's us, and I think that's great. I just wonder if that's us or if we want that to be us. Because if that is us, and that's what people want who are part of IWDM community, then hey, fantastic. Let's be that.
Let's say I and I'm speaking and I'm also speaking for this state of Florida. And when we say that, when I use the word leadership, I'm speaking of the language, the logic, the years of studying his approach of how when I read Quran, I now know to go into the words, define the words, see the relativity of those words as it uh, relates to creation and what have you. So there's a process in my thinking when I address certain situations, and it's because of being in association with the leadership of Imam Worthy Muhammad. That's what I'm expressing.
Right.
And
And I
so,
understand that. That's individual though, sister. That's you
no,
personally.
no, what I'm saying, no, as I say, I'm speaking now individually, but I'm speaking also in reference to our meetings that we hold in the state of Florida for those who say they're in connection with the leadership or in association with the leadership of Imam Worthy Muhammad. When you ask the question about going into any particular school, or if you go into any
Mm-hmm.
particular masjid, you're not going to hear Sufism. You're not intending to hear Sufism. And ones may say, well, this isn't Al Islam. We've heard that too. Like, oh, you all are talking about. Well, because we have, as the Imam said, as we think globally, we see the human family, but we working locally. So zoom it right into Tampa Bay Area Muslim Association, in association with the leadership of Imam Worthy Muhammad. No matter what conversation we have with whomever, it comes down to and I want to use the word practicality, but the usefulness of Quran in our being functional in the community. So it took us through 40 years, and we intentionally, and our mission was to be in service to humanity, and then we broke that down. What does that look like? What has the Imam said about this and that? So in our studying and connecting with the outer community, the rest of the community where we live in St. Petersburg in the Tampa Bay area, then we knew that we needed to have buildings, but we wanted to have more content so that if you built a building, the content will still be the same. The motivation will be the
Mm-hmm.
same, the actualization of it will be the same. And when you get the buildings and if you produce storefronts or a whole mall or whatever, it's because you've already fulfilled the content part.
Right. Okay. I get that. Now let me ask you a question. Can you duplicate that if you moved to Peoria in 90 days and that was going to be your permanent residence? Do you have the ability to duplicate what you've done in Florida? Can you put it on
Yes.
paper? Is it already on paper? If you were talking to them, could you hand out sheets to them to let them know what you did in Tampa and how it works and why you were successful and why we're going to try to implement that here?
Yes. I say for
Okay.
Tampa Bay area, yes, definitely.
Well, I'm just saying you could take Tampa Bay, you personally, with your understanding of what you've accomplished in the
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay Area Muslims Association, if you move to Peoria, you by
Mm-hmm.
yourself, you could
Yes,
take that same thing to Peoria, Illinois, and say, this is what we did, this is how we did it.
exactly. Yes.
Okay. That's the duplication that Imam W.D. Muhammad, I think, please, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, that's the basis of the duplication that he was talking about, right? So after a period of time of being somewhere else, if these people were right-minded, you wouldn't, except for the fact that you wouldn't have any water around you, you wouldn't even know that you were not in Tampa Bay or St. Petersburg, because it'd be the same kind of community spirit, community actions, obviously personalized for what the issues were in Peoria, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you'd be using the same type of structure, like you were alluding to putting a building in place, right? You'd be using the same logic and everything that you use in Tampa Bay, St. Pete, to do the same thing in Peoria. If you got transferred to Denver, Colorado, you could repeat it again and again and again.
Amen.
If that's what we're doing, that's exactly what we should be doing. And if that's what's happening, then there's no reason to be panicked about leadership. Because as Imam said, my sunnah disappears because you have the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. And what Sister Martha just talked about, it's not an exact replica of what Prophet Muhammad and the Sahabas and the Ansaris did in Medina, and then transported that around to Mecca and other places. But it's the same spirit. And if that's what we're doing, then we're on the right path.
But keep in mind that it can't be the exact same physical movement because the earth isn't uniform around the earth.
Exactly. And that's what I said about Peoria. You're going to have to deal with whatever the issues are in Peoria with your model. When you get to Peoria, you're going to deal with a different set of issues than you were dealing with in St. Petersburg and Tampa.
You have to. Did you read the
Right.
second thing you put out there? Your man was talking about, yeah, you did read that about people not wanting that to happen and they would move to undermine it.
No, was that a part of Yaku's thing too? Did I miss that?
I thought it was two things y'all sent out.
I did. I saw. I thought I read both of them.
Okay, so it was probably it.
Okay.
First, assalamu alaikum again, everybody.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother.
If you look at the imam's concern about why we don't become uniform, organized like that. It was that there are enemies out there that want to try to come against us, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if you have a loose knit situation, which is what the man tried to move us to, if they try to come against the imam's movement, if that was their focus, and everybody around the country is doing their own thing, in terms of not organizing and do like the Southern Baptists do, right?
Mm-hmm.
They form national organizations, right?
Right.
They have two of them, I think. Might be more than that.
Well, the Southern Baptists. This is an interesting thing about the Southern Baptists. They're actually not an organization. Like they're not like the Catholics or the Presbyterians or the Methodists. But it's
Okay.
hard to tell that they're not.
Right.
Right. and every Southern Baptist church is an independent structure.
Okay.
You know, they have they do what we do. They have an annual convention
Right.
where, you know, people, they get together and basically espouse what they believe in, have big pep rallies and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, they don't have like a pope that can tell this pastor over here, I'm taking you out of that church. They don't have
Right.
that kind of thing.
Right. Right. And I can see the wisdom of what when the man first said, I can see the wisdom because you can't take him down because he only has a little ministry, right?
Right.
But I think from that position, that doesn't mean in my city we operate like that. You understand? In
Mm-hmm.
in the micro setting, in the masjids or the community centers, Islamic centers, you need to be organized.
Locally, you need to be
Locally,
organized.
you need to
Right.
be organized.
Right.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think most people thought the man was talking about locally, and that's where they mess up.
Okay.
I got I
Okay.
got I got a call today. Some I'm dealing with now with the organization. It's supposed to be a national organization, but they thought they weren't organized like that, or they didn't want to be in that regard. But they incorporated. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Once you incorporate it, once you incorporate, you're following a legal structured entity that is regulated,
Right.
whether it's the state that you if you incorporate, you're incorporating the state or whatever. You're following that. So you can't say we're close knit, we're loose knit. I mean, no, you're
Right.
not.
You are. Yeah. Now you're close knit, very close knit.
And they don't, but they didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And that's the you know, people need to understand what from that position so they don't put themselves in harm's way.
Mm-hmm. So there's a trade-off there, though, right? So when you do that corporation, depending on the type it is, there's a certain amount of personal protection that can come from that, right? The organization becomes a living body, and somebody like me is, maybe I'm an employee, maybe I'm a board member with some indemnification or whatever, but what the corporation does isn't what I did. So there's some legal protections there
Right, right,
that can be realized.
right.
But I, I've been trying to get my head around our community and our leadership, lack thereof, or whatever. And just reading this stuff, and I mean, I understand why Imam Yaqub put this out. Didn't have to talk to him to get a read on why he posted this stuff today, or maybe it was yesterday. Is that there's obviously a lot of conversation around leadership in our community, a
Right.
lot. So if what is going on, what Sister Martha described, which is beautiful, the way she described it, and what you have said previously, just about the moves that your community, your masjid made in Fayetteville to make sure that it was as secure as current law could make it, right? And you continue to do things that you believe that Imam W.D. Muhammad would have you do on the community level as much as you can on the state level and so on and so forth. And if everybody's actually doing that, then we're following his dictates.
Mhm.
And then it just really comes down to, community to community. Are you really into it, or are you just going through the motions? And that's something no one person or group of people, even conveners, are going to have the time to go and decipher.
Right.
I mean, it's just the proof is going to be in the eating of the pudding. If that community is doing good work and they're following the imam's guidelines and what his mission was, they're probably going to be successful. If not, well, see what happens.
And assalamu alaikum, and
Walaikum
Edward,
salam.
everyone. And two, this is, in my heart and soul, I had to come to realize that you can have an event, but if that event is not attached, and when I say purposeful, if it's not attached to a future goal, real goal oriented, and it has a continuation process of what your initial intent together is. You're just having an event just for to use dollars right now, here and now. Then I'm seeing that, and perhaps I pray I'm wrong, but I see that that's pretty much many groups throughout the country that said that they're in association with the leadership of Imam Warthi Muhammad, that their primary focus of an event is it doesn't get mentioned, doesn't get spoken to, that this is to form educational arenas, other than, and I can see those that are, that, like connected education, Adam. Okay, but and I'm speaking in general about the overall events, and maybe it's for that
Mm-hmm.
personal, individual group right then, that they can have funds to. I don't know if it's connected to community work in the local area where they are, so they can further that. Well, that would be speaking to their mission, and they may say this is because Imam Warthi Muhammad rahimahullah said this and this, and this is how we're going to. I've come to the conclusion too, and as I've stated that, then I've come to the conclusion that it would help us if we each had a blueprint, a physical, structural blueprint of what our communities can. And when I say communities, I'm talking about the cities where we live, where the
Mm-hmm.
masjid is, Islamic center is, what the future look can be, because that's what other planners do.
Right. Yeah. I'm 100% with you. And that's why the whole leadership thing has been on my mind for months, it seems, is that I see individual stuff. I haven't seen like any kind of a master plan. And now I'm really starting to backtrack and I'm starting to appreciate more the individual community plans, whether that plan involves building a school, that plan involves increasing the size of the masjid itself, buying additional properties for, building housing, whatever the case may be, of just focusing on those individual communities. Where I guess my big idea was that there's some kind of interconnectedness, that everybody would be together and we'd have a master plan and we decide that we're going to develop this here, and then the next step is develop this over here, and it could be leapfrogging states and regions and all those things. If I had $500 billion, maybe I would try to put something like that into effect and have the financial power to move people to do something like that. It may not be necessary though, in that if what Sister Martha was talking about and what you were talking about, Imam Bia, if those things are happening positively on the local level, then we're basically moving toward the same goal, just at the speed that we can move. And that's not a bad thing because you always want to go faster and bigger. But it's not always necessary that you do. And you definitely don't want to get yourself into trouble trying to do more than what is possible, or not a whole lot more than possible. You want to stretch yourself a little bit all the time, but you don't want to overstretch yourself and get yourself into a real bind.
Do you all recall when a big phase occurred with churches, uh, not necessarily their membership, maybe it was a decrease in their membership, but they priced themselves out of their buildings. And in their building, there was a big Catholic church here in St. Petersburg, actually two or three, that had to, one gave their church over to a Seventh-day Adventist. And the first thing they did was they showed that their mission included the neighborhood, not just who they were, but included the surrounding neighborhood. They held a health fair and such. Um, and certain messages here have done same thing after they had a conversation with the Tampa Bay Area Muslim Association. Give them a little more. You don't want to just focus in on you're a sore thumb sitting in the middle of a community, and all of your membership comes outside of that realm and come into the masjid and doesn't have a relationship with it. And so relationship building is what we focused on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I want to say, I think there, and maybe it's, I think it must be an hadith because I don't think it says it purposely in the Quran, but it talks about your neighbors. And if your neighbors are hungry or unclothed or whatever, and you're not sharing with them, basically, it's really kind of hard to say that you're a believer. And if you're a religious institution, our masjids, and you're in the middle of a community, those people around you are your neighbors, whether they are Muslim or not. They're your neighbors, and if you're eating, they should eat. If you have certain things that they may need and you can share, you should share. So I understand what you're saying. And I think a lot of our messages actually are doing these things. Again, I can be corrected because I'm not everywhere, but I think a lot of our messages have these outreach programs and they are doing everything. And a lot of times they're working with the city or the county, other Islamic groups, sometimes in conjunction with other faith groups to do these things. But I think I'm seeing more and more that our communities are involved in this stuff.
And I would say it's a lot because of their relationship with those who are in association with the leadership of the network. Like,
Okay,
I know.
here's the thing. That's really strong. That's really strong because it has, as of this month, it's been a legit 17 years, right? And I'm not saying that Imam's majesty and the big shadow that he cast should be dissipated after 17 years. That's what I'm about to say. Please don't think I'm saying that. Is he the reason that we can move in these corridors, or have we ourselves built up enough capital that if people who have never heard of Imam W.D. Muhammad, they know us well enough that we can move in those corridors and work with people and get things done? Is that not the case now? Adam, I would think that you in Fayetteville, that you don't have to throw on the cloak of Imam W.D. Muhammad at this point, that you have enough cachet to move in Fayetteville of your own accord. Am I wrong in that?
Well,
He may be on the. Oh, he said.
now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oops, excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. We've been in that mode for a minute now, because of the work we've been doing under the leadership of the Imam. All right. So we've been able to do that. And by the strength of it, I still mention the Imam's name, because I'm trying to draw people to him. I've never been one that had a problem with mentioning who my leader was at all. I hear some people say, well, you don't have to mention the man's name. Well, whose name I'm mentioning? That's what I say. Who am I going to mention? I can't mention mine because I don't have the same body of work established that the Imam has. So I question why. Why should there be a problem with people being mentioning the Imam's name? All right. And if we're working the way we're supposed to be working in the community, and we don't say, well, you don't have to mention the Imam's name, but as soon as the Christians mention us, who do they mention?
They're either going to mention his name, or they're going to mention Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Nation of Islam,
You understand?
Farrakhan, right? Yeah,
Well,
that whole thing.
they don't go as far where they do too. They come to
They do. If they happen to be African American, they're going to mention Farrakhan.
Yeah, I saw your leader on YouTube. Who are you talking about? You know, Farrakhan. I said, he's not my leader. My leader was the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You understand? Because that's what they used to. I mean, I don't fault them, but they probably hadn't even heard the Nation of Islam since the 70s.
Right.
And we're still living off of that. You understand? So we're still living off the glory days of the Nation of Islam. You know. So what can you say?
So yeah, would you say that when people on the street, because I hear this, people on the street say, now I wish the Muslims would do something, that they're talking about the Nation of Islam, they're not talking about us?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I tell you what they said about me when I was appointed to the African American caucus. They told me, let's get Adam. He gonna make the white man mad. I said, I don't know about all that, but I know a lot of African Americans gonna be mad. But they still got this image of me being the angry black Muslim.
Right.
They still got the image of me.
Assalamu alaikum. Brother Imam Adam, I think I'm correct on it was you, Harvey, Illinois, 1997, improving imams' effectiveness in their towns and region, that Talim Imam Muhammad gave after Salat al-Fajr.
Okay.
You remember that?
Yes, sir.
And you remember asking him the question, how do we describe him to people?
Yes, sir.
You do? Okay.
I remember. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Yes, sir.
And now I was there. Reason I'm bringing this to your attention.
I
didn't meet you, and I just remember your name up until this day and your voice.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That was me.
Yeah.
That was me asking that question.
Do you have that lecture?
Uh, I don't know if I do or not. I have
I'm
to
gonna
go
send it.
back and
I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna send it to you. Send it to you all at my earliest convenience in
please do,
Memphis.
brother.
Okay.
Okay.
Please
Now
do.
notice what I
Alhamdulillah.
put. No, no. Notice what I put last. My earliest
At my
convenience
earliest
Uh,
convenience.
in memory.
okay, so let me ask you a question, Imam Tariq.
Yes,
So
sir.
that address in 1997, what was the event?
Um,
That's
can't
for you
remember
and
what.
Adam. What was the event?
I can't remember why he convened it. Why he convened it, and it was. It's just that I just remember that lecture.
All right.
And it was so profound. I think I would, as I discuss it, I might be able to answer your question, but at present, I can't give you an exact answer. It was
Okay.
just it was just to listen to Imam speak in private, the way he was speaking to us,
Mhm.
in comparison to when he's speaking publicly, it's two different minds. And
Right.
and when he made, because he was supposed to take us to breakfast. But something happened where he wasn't able to do that. So he told it those person responsible for the recording to make sure that we got that lecture. And I
Mhm.
said after that, I could have ate anywhere. I'd rather had a lecture anyway. And
Alhamdulillah.
so, so, so I mean, it was just was a memorable moment. And I over the years I misplaced the cassette tape, and I'm like, wow, I wish I can come back into that. And so probably about 5 years ago, maybe a brother was reading it during Ramadan, and I reached out to him and asked him, was that improving imam's effectiveness from the town and the region? Because it's still stuck in my mind. I'm not might not be able to give it to you in the order he delivered, but it's certain things I can give you give to you. And so I say, may I get a copy of it? And he emailed it to me. And then I say, do I have the permission to share it? And he said, yes.
Oh, cool.
Cause, mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
that would be something that would probably be worth playing
How it
and
worth playing?
yeah, I mean worth
No,
putting
I
that
don't
on
have
a
the
program.
audio version on it. I
Oh,
only
you don't
got the
have you've just
printed
got the written
version
version.
because see, I
Gotcha. Okay.
mislocated, and by this time that audio cassette probably won't even play.
I'm gonna see if I can get think I can trick AI into reading it in Imam WD Muhammad's voice.
Mm. Listen to you.
Boy, that's a
Hey,
mess.
it's getting to be pretty good. I'm telling
I
you.
hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, because he touched on, so as he always do, so many uh pertinent things. And I mean it was just magnificent. Very, very, very just enlightening to listen to that and be in that setting like that.
Hmm.
Because he just addressed so many things. It was just so profound. And as you all already know this for probably for more than I do, because there was a different method in how he taught privately and publicly.
See, I don't know. I only heard him speak publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he visited Dallas and he was in our masjid, he he didn't do the khutbah. He didn't do anything, unique when he was here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he came in with his, people that traveled with him. He sat on the floor. I mean, one Friday, I mean, I was right beside him on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just like anybody else,
Right.
listening to the khutbah, making salat, whatever. He never imposed himself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, brother, come on up here. Let me sit down. That was not
Mm-hmm.
the case, right? He
Right.
never did that. And he was in Dallas at that time to be honored. One of our civic organizations, Thanksgiving Square Foundation, was honoring him. Rosa Parks, there was somebody else I can't remember, but it was him and Rosa Parks and somebody else that were being honored. But yeah, I mean, just he's just normal,
Yeah.
and that in and of itself was kind of because I was newly minted. This was 94, 95. I can't remember the exact year. And I'd been in the community maybe for 4.5, maybe 5 years. I mean, as wet behind the ears as you can get, right? I mean, seriously. So, and then he comes in and sits down beside me. And I knew who he was. I was like, oh no, I can't miss a step here. I mean, I gotta when we get up to pray, it's gotta be, shoulder to shoulder, ankle to ankle. I mean, my feet gotta be just right and everything, right? I mean, it was interesting.
You know
But
what? Oh, Savannah.
go ahead, sister.
What I'm reflecting on too, the many times that we traveled from Florida to other states, and I believe with my going, I think it was New Orleans and Chicago. I think several times, but as I reflect on it and coming back to the city, our leaders here, and they would, I'm. It was as though they were served the like you're serving what the sheriffs do. They serve
A
sub,
warrant?
yeah,
Is it a
a
warrant?
warrant, a subpoena,
That's a
something.
payment.
Yeah, and I tell you, we they took it to heart. We all went, but they really took it to heart, and it was like not bully, but we really casually sat down and had conversations with the Jewish community. And we talked over some things that were, many people probably say, oh, y'all talked about that. We talked about them having taking advantage of the liberties when we were standing on the same line. And then when the door opened for, the fairer complexion, they took it and ran with it, and we were still back in the back. But
Mm.
and so other things, that we discussed. But I want to just point out that part about the imams here. They really took on the role of saying, okay, we've been charged with the mission, and we're going to see this through in every step, every phase of our community here. And of course, you have your weak points. Our weak points is the buildings don't reflect the multiplicity of businesses, the multiplicity, and maybe that's generic in every city, but the multiplicity of schools and such. We didn't take over that way, but we stepped into the libraries. And I know Tampa Bay Area Muslim Association did it more so than I've heard in any other area, but we stepped into the libraries, and just on the basis of saying education, then that was the avenue, that's the horse and carriage that we ride in and drive. When we go into the city hall, when we go into the sheriff department, go into the jails, go into wherever, we find the avenues that they've already created, but we go and take the leadership of Imam Worthy Muhammad in language and in our understanding, explaining it, and there's no fantasy world. And alhamdulillah.
Mm. What I'm doing now, I'm in the process of emailing it. I just attached it to the same email, Edward, that you sent out for the announcement of this meeting. Is
Okay,
that okay?
that's perfect.
Okay. I'm doing it now because believe me, if I hang up this phone and you all will be saying, that boy say you go sit in that thing. But I already
You
gave my
did.
disclaimer. You're blaming on my memory.
All right. I knew you would get us taken care of, man. So
Yes, sir.
I
That's
was not worried about it.
what you say, like Moses, huh?
So,
Oh,
well, I mean, better than Moses because the delivery system is much
it's
better than what
much
Moses
better.
had.
Yes.
Much better, you know. So, but Sister Martha, I was going to again. I mean, I have two sons, so I learned early on to be very quick to compliment and very, very slow to correct. I would always tend to simply be the buffer between them and pain, right? The painful
Mm-hmm.
fall or whatever type of thing, because I really didn't want to anyway negatively affect their willingness to take risk. So whenever they were successful, I was just over the top, man. That is fantastic. Let's do it again, whatever. Let's do it with the dog this time, whatever the case
Mm.
may be. And, the things that you are saying tonight, because I catch you on a lot of the programs that we have, and you are way over my head when you're talking about ascension and different things like that. Those are things that are beyond me. I'm still digging ditches, right? I got a pickaxe and shovel and a wheelbarrow. And that's where I am in the religion, is I'm still putting it together type of thing. But when you talk about the things that you guys are doing in the community, even what you just talked about going into the libraries, um, that resonates with me. That's laying bricks, right? That's putting up that's putting up sheetrock. I can get down with that. That
Alhamdulillah.
makes sense to me, and I appreciate any community that's doing that kind of work and the people that are doing that kind of work. That makes all the difference in the world. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm getting ready to type a message, but I see Adam has left and I need to sign off at this point, but the email
Okay.
has been sent.
Okay, brother, why
But
don't
I
you go
Alhamdulillah.
want
ahead and
to.
close us out for the evening then?
Okay, then.
And
All right.
we'll reconvene whatever AM 360's got going on tomorrow, which will probably be a full program.
Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. with
Okay.
All
William
right.
So did you
Terrain.
say close out?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Rabbana atina fi dunya hasanatan wa fi akhirati hasanatan wa fi adabana. Oh, our Lord be so good upon us in this life and the life to come and save us from the torment of the fire. Amen. Assalamu alaikum.
I mean,
Alaikum
well, alaikum
assalam.
assalam, everyone.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for your contributions.
Alhamdulillah.